saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
jangan pilihan filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan pilihan filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem dengan perdana filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem dengan perdana filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan perdana filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
jangan perdana filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem, sayang apa dah filem, macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem, sayang apa dah filem, macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Jangan filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Grigorios design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang bercakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem yang apa dah ada filem macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa satu masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
Sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
Bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem, sayang apa dana filem, macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Saya buat technical stuff. But definitely Sir Helmi pun dah taruh banyak untuk kita buat.
sama je macam dekat Escapism 1. Kadang-kadang kita
Because design. So kalau korang very freaking proud of your work, dia boleh nampak cara korang cakap.
That is actually my passion lah. I have passion in designing, so that's when I started doing freelancing.
Company ni company advertising yang besar lah kat Malaysia. Just random je pergi. During interview, HR ni macam perasan tau.
Nak kata minat tu, of course, bila dah kerja ni memang minat lah.
bukan diorang tak okay. It's like diorang adalah demand sendiri lah. Macam
Cakap filem, sayang apa dana filem, macam filem yang tak keluar lagi ataupun
Dia dah datang macam ada masa.
game apa yang saya buat adalah saya develop game traditional game.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening everyone. Today on the 28th of July is our final industry sharing session for Game Inc. 21. Our guest today is Dr. Grigorio Lamprinakos. He joined the Birmingham Business School since January 2020 as a research fellow, and the main focus of Dr. Greg's research is to examine the cognitive and metacognitive processes that drive responsible behavior. His research interests also include consumer behavior, consumer psychology, metacognition, persuasion, emotions, advertising, strategic marketing, and marketing communication. Do stay till the very end as we're going to have a quizzes test and all the questions will be based out of this session, and the winner will stand a chance to win 100 ringgit. So who knows, you might be 100 ringgit richer today. Okay, hello Dr. Greg. We are so delighted to have you and I'm sure you have so much to share with us. Firstly, I'm very curious as our topic is on game development and what is the history of games before it became to what we all know of it today.
Okay, so do you know that games originally introduced in a place nearby Turkey, which is called Lydia, and there's like an inspirational story about the origin of these games. About, like, according to Herodotus, about 2,500 years ago, people used to play games, okay, still, like from back then. And why do people like invented these games and why they played these games is far before PlayStation 4, Xbox, Nintendo, and all this stuff. They were using like knuckles, like small pieces of bones, of animal bones, in order to play. And this is something like it's a kind of game which is equivalent to our dice game. In 2000 BC, before Christ, the kingdom of Lydia was suffering from a famine, so there was no food, and people were suffering. So people were fighting. There were like debates, and there were like rises and riots and everything. So apparently, the famine was so severe that the king decided that he had to do something crazy in order to reduce this frustration. So according to Herodotus, what they do is they applied a kingdom-wide game policy. So one day, everybody would eat, and on the next day, everybody would play games. These games are so engaging, and people would be so immersed into this situation, this gaming situation, this gaming experience, they would ignore the hunger, and they would feel so blissful and productive, so they wouldn't care. So this situation, one day eating, one day playing, one day eating, one day playing, kept on going for 80 years. And the entire nation, like the nation of the territory of Lydia, survived the famine by actually playing games like every day, almost every day. Strangely, this story sounds fictitious, like it's something which is like a fairy tale or something. It's actually a historic fact. And there are like some excavations that came up really recently, like 10 years ago, that they prove that this is the actual story. This is exactly what happened, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. Like this is like the origin of games, and this is how games are immersed to society back then and now.
Wow, who would have thought for 80 years people in Libya would play games to distract themselves from hunger? That's just how addictive and intrigued we can get while playing games. What do you think are the main reasons people play games and why are they so addictive?
Like games are still an escape mechanism, like escape from the reality. Associate yourself with something different from what you really are right now. So become a hero, become a villain, do something different from what you are and enjoy it, like express yourself. It's not interaction like the physical interaction that used to be then, but there is interaction. Of course, games back then were addictive, okay? Weren't destroying, if you want, society. Yeah. They were used as a tool in order to survive, while now there are like some really bad drawbacks about playing games all day. Like the productivity goes down, the social communication, the being a good civilian goes down, like everything of all these aspects of social life are reduced by being engaged in extreme form. There is a great book about that. It's called The Reality is Broken, and it's an academic book, but also you can actually read it as it's a light one, so you can actually read it without being academic. And the overall idea, the overall notion behind this book is that we play games in order to escape reality, in order to become someone we are not, to communicate with others, to be a part of a group, to socialize. But mostly because in some games you don't even socialize, you just play by yourself.
A very interesting point, as you mentioned, video games are a form of escapism. We get to escape our own reality in game, we get to customize our own avatar. We are not who we are, but who we want to be. And I think video games just brings a new form of excitement into our lives. So do you play games yourself? What are the games that you are playing at the moment?
I used to play League of Legends, which is a violent game. So I used to play that when I was younger, like 15 years ago. But then I started introducing myself with something more productive. So there are like different kind of games that kind of can be used as a tool of education. So it's an educational game. You can learn different things. So nowadays I mostly play quizzes, which is based on knowledge, which I do know that sounds geeky, okay, and like nerdy, which is true. It is kind of nerdy if you think about it. But at least like you make something out of your time instead of spending time without a reason.
Quizzes is great. We use it for most of our classes and it makes the education lesson a whole lot more exciting. As you've mentioned, you used to play League of Legends in your early 20s. Do you agree that gamers are only among youths in their teens and early 20s?
I do know that there is this perception that the average age for a gamer is something between 14 and 18 or something, but this is not true. Do you know that the average age for a gamer is 34 years old? This is the average age. Like there are like a huge ton of different research showing that the average age is like 34 years. So almost everybody, playing games.
Who would have known that the average age of a gamer is 34 years? So the common misconception of gamers being teenagers like us is totally false. In your perspective, what are the marketing strategies to make a video game successful?
I think that the overall notion, like the underlying mechanism in order to make a successful game is the STP, the segmentation, targeting, and position of the game. Okay. So what you before you market a game, what you need to do is first of all segment your market. By segmenting your market, we mean that all games are not for everybody. So I would say that successful, if you want a successful approach, is find what are the characteristics of your segment. So break your market in different segments and identify the different characteristics of each segment. What each of this segment craves for, like what do the people in this segment want? What needs why do they play these games? What they need to fulfill with these games? And eventually this is why they will pay. So the reason that they pay is in order to fulfill a social need. The need of belonging, the need of being better than others, the need of being appreciated. But it's the Maslow hierarchy, okay? It's a pile of needs that needs to be identified and fulfilled. And this is why consumers pay for. The second part of the STP, the targeting, and then you target. You just find the segment, the part of the market that best represents the value of your game. So if you have created the game has some characters and some gameplay and some special values, what is unique of your game, what your game promotes. On the other hand, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, what you need to do is I would say that, so according to marketing, you first segment your market and then you create a product to fulfill needs. I would say that the successful recipes of marketing today is the customization. So I have one product and I position it everywhere. Yeah. It is successful for a super simple product as Coca-Cola. I wouldn't suggest it for something as complicated as a game, because a game is both a product and an experience. Okay, so the literature cannot identify if a game is a product of an experience. They tend to both. And finally, positioning. So I would say that positioning is like the key point. You have to create a clear understanding of what your game is in the market, what it represents, what values, what needs come to fulfill. So is it for educational reasons? Is it for entertainment reasons? Why do you produce this? And which are your customers? What are you trying to give them?
I definitely agree that before going into marketing your product, we have to do segmentation of the market. And once we understand that not all games are for everyone, we can then create a product that fulfills needs. And finally, positioning the product into the market. By then, we will already understand what our product represents. What about the less successful games? Do you think they did not follow these marketing strategies?
Once again, I think that one of the reasons that most games, plenty of games, because the majority of the games are like failures. You do know that, yeah? They don't pass the beta test and they are failures. Yeah. Only very few, I think it's 4% of the games that they actually are published and become available for us. So they don't have anything unique. Don't give something unique. It's important for you to give something unique to the customer. It's an experience. Why should I pay for this experience? Why should I give you my money if you don't give me something unique? It might be a success, and this is why many games, the success is like so temporal. So you can have like a game which is successful for like 2 months. Do you remember how do you call it? The Pokemon game. Like they embodied both a physical reality with an augmented reality which is virtual. And that was really innovative. That was something new. They actually found a gap there. They made you move. They made you come outside of the house, so you wouldn't be stuck in the computer all day long. Okay, you would be stuck in the mobile phone, but at least you will be outside. And then they have this interaction because you have your Pokemon, so your Pokemon will fight with the others, and they became really, really profitable. And this game was out like for one year and a half. And that was the game. Like after that, okay, there are players still playing the game, but the majority of the players, they went out. They give up the game.
I remember Pokemon Go. It was a big hit for a few months, and after the hype died down, it slowly faded away. And I think that's just how trends work. It slowly fades away and it will be replaced with another trend. So moving on to the marketing aspects of things, how do we implement the psychological practices to influence consumer behavior?
So the easy part is the associations. Okay, you associate different things that you see in the game. Okay, and you create like a positive feeling towards the specific product. What most of the gamers and at the same time people that develop the developers, they don't know, it's at the same time you don't only create positive but also negative. So there is this tendency to believe that if I develop an advertisement and I include it in a game, okay, like I don't know, like Resident Evil or Phantasmagoria, I don't know, like LOL or WoW or whatever, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that because the gamers see the advertisement, it's going to create a positive valuation of the product. Also depends of the emotion or the arousal that the gamer experience at the moment of the exposure to the advertisement. Let's say if I am competing in a rally game, my competitors have like a certain, I don't know, like a brand of Coca-Cola printed on their cars, and it is the competitor, the overall valuation of the Coca-Cola, especially if I lose, it's going to be negative. There is like very scarce research about that. So people, they think that if I see something, I'm okay. Or the other way, if you have like a really shitty game, sorry for the expression, like a boring game, okay, and then you publish something in this boring game, like if you have associated your brand with a game which is boring, then the overall valuation of your brand is going down.
Yeah, okay.
And the emotions is a different aspect. So a little like the next step in the overall valuation are the emotions. So emotions have like it's double-edged, as you said before. It's double-edged as an approach. So a positive emotion when it comes before the introduction of a brand, you don't have any thoughts, okay? You don't have any thoughts about the brand because you haven't been introduced to the brand yet. So again, through association, the positive emotion will be associated with the brand and the overall valuation of the brand will be higher. Though emotions are like multidimensional states. It's not only positive or negative. Another thing that they have is arousal. So some emotions make you feel like really aroused, and some will feel like, oh, blah, blah, let's say, okay? So let's say boredom, okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that a positive emotion is going to give you high arousal. So imagine anger, which is like a pretty common emotion while you are gaming. Anger is a negative emotion. Nobody wants to feel angry, like to be irritated, or we don't enjoy that. But at the same time, the very same emotion, is associated with great confidence. So every time that you feel anger, you tend to think less. And that's why most of the times when we're angry, we do mistakes. Because you are feeling so certain about what you do that you don't think about it anymore. So if I feel anger before I see a product, I'm so confident about the thoughts that I already have, about the perception about the product that I already have, that I won't pay attention to the product, to the advertisement. So my evaluation towards the product won't be affected, even if I see the advertisement. On the other hand, if I do see the advertisement before, so if I create some kind of thoughts, okay, any kind of thoughts,
Okay.
like the advertisement, and then I create positive thoughts because the advertisement is associated with something positive, okay? And then I feel anger, I will be so confident of these positive thoughts that I will evaluate the product better. So anger is like a catalyst. It will just make whatever you already think higher.
Those are all very interesting points. I want to know your thoughts on video games. Do you think that they make us more aggressive?
And most of the literature, until the most recent, the older part of the literature suggests that the more you're exposed to violent crimes, violent videos, violent interaction, the more accustomed you become. You become. So you're like more, it's easier for you to accept it. It's something that it's habituation. So it's a habit for you. Numbing effect, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the more you see it, the less it affects you, okay? On the other hand, another line of research which is parallel to that is that it's more easily accessible to your head. Like your aggressive thoughts, okay, as a number, become higher. So if I kill in a game like constantly, the moment I'm going to have a fight, like a physical fight, it's easier for me to become more aggressive. So imagine like if my brain is wired, every time that I have a fight, I play like, do you remember the Grand Theft Auto? So the idea is like the guy, every time that he wants, he can go out, kill somebody, okay, steal, like rape somebody, or like break everything that he wants, steal money. And so you get like, this becomes a habit in your brain.
Yeah.
The association, the mere exposure to the same stimulus over and over and over and over again, okay, it becomes a solution in your head. So if you were about to be involved in a fight, okay, virtually, you are already accustomed to this situation. So it's far easier for you to be involved in a physical fight. Moreover, what happens is like, so this is like a learning mechanism, okay? Every time that you fight in this game, every time that you are violent, you steal, you rape, you break, you gain points. So there is a motivation there. I'll give you another example. So have you, like now during the pandemic, okay, you have like several meetings online. Imagine that you see the person like online for like, I don't know, a year. It happened to me like today, okay? So I had a colleague that I was meeting him online all year long. When I first saw him in the campus, never met before. It was the first time, okay? It felt so familiar. So I didn't have to introduce myself because I've seen him like, I don't know, like 100 times before. It's exactly the same thing. The more accustomed you become to the same stimulus, to the same environment, to the same violent, if you want, behavior, the easier it is for you to recognize it and to, I don't know, to follow it, okay, to act on it whenever you're out. Every time you become you get involved in a social situation, okay, which somehow is unpleasant, all of us have like the fight or flight mode. So either you fight, either you go back. In all of the games, most of the games, if you want, okay, the motivation is to fight. So this thing wires your brain towards fighting.
If all these video games are instilling bad habits, why do you think we show them in video games? And why do you think it is so appealing to the public?
Why? Because it's catchy. It's the same with the movies. If you take the amount of pacifistic movies and aggressive movies, the aggressive movies are far more in number than the pacifistic one. Yeah. The reason behind that is it's better for you. It's a social thing. It's like a primitive thing. It's a Darwinian thing. Okay. So in order for you to survive from the origins of time, okay, you need to fight the enemies. They associate themselves with something strong, with something. It's catchy, it's interesting, and they are heroes. Okay, like life in a game is far more interesting than real life. The problem is that it's not real. You could experience the same things like in real life. It's far more demanding, of course, because of the money, because of the travel, because of the time limits and everything. But on the other hand, you can't really depend on a video, online, virtual environment to live your life. It kind of sucks.
So before we wrap up our session, do you have any last words you would like to share to us diploma students of New Media, Communications and Contempreneurship?
I would suggest that games are not a good or a bad thing. It's how you play the games. And I wouldn't be against games. I wouldn't position myself as someone which is against playing games, because it's a way of social interaction, but you should do it responsible. And hopefully I'll see you soon, somehow. And let's play something together when you want.
With that, thank you so much, Dr. Greg, for your time, and I hope everyone that joined learned a thing or two from our session today. So it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Our gaming crew has posted our quizzes code and link in the chat box. So come and join us and stand a chance to win 100 ringgit if you answer all of the questions correctly. Before we end, I would just like to say thank you so much to everyone that has made Game Inc. 21 such a big success. Our games are still on GameJolt.com. Just search Game Inc. 21 and you can play 20 amazing games. And don't forget to leave feedback, as we need you to be our beta testers today. So happy gaming!
Sebagaimana yang telah kita war-warkan di media sosial, hari ini kita akan adakan quizzes test berdasarkan live industry talk sebentar tadi. Jadi madam boleh share. Dan hadiah yang disediakan ialah sejumlah wang sagu hati yang bernilai RM100 yang hanya akan diberikan kepada pemenang tempat pertama. Jadi korang semua kena beringat yang korang perlu menggunakan nama sebenar dan setelah habis menjawab kuisis tu, korang perlu screenshot summary kuisis di akhir test sebagai bukti penglibatan korang. Dan jangan lupa juga untuk test game kami di Game Joke kerana kami masih ada lagi 2 hari untuk beta testing. Link Game Game Joke ada di bio Instagram, Twitter dan Facebook Game Inc 21. Jangan lupa isi survey form lepas main. Okay, buat masa sekarang, kita akan tunggu dulu peserta untuk masuk. Selamat datang Rafiq Alwani. Baru seorang masuk ni, dia kena ramai lagi. Jom guys, kita sama-sama masuk. Hadiah RM100 tu, siapa yang tak nak? Selamat datang Hafni. Hafni ni mesti fokus tadi. Okay guys, jom guys. Lagi ramai-ramai, lagi meriah. Okey, kita dah mula ada sambutan. Selamat datang Hani, Aida. Korang sambil-sambil tunggu nak join untuk tunggu peserta lain, korang boleh visit Instagram Game Inc 21 dan Facebook ataupun Twitter. Korang boleh tangkap gambar dan korang boleh share menggunakan hashtag Game Inc 21. Korang boleh juga tag account Game Inc 21 dan kita orang akan repost balik story korang. Come on guys, baru 7 orang. Kita kena ramai lagi meriah. Baru rasa macam ada feel untuk nak menang RM100. Ni kalau 8 orang lawan untuk RM100 macam Okey, selamat datang Farhana. Ni Raja. Okay, sementara menunggu, lagi sekali saya nak ucapkan korang jangan lupa untuk test game-game kami di Game Joke kerana kami masih lagi ada 2 hari untuk beta testing. Kalau korang tak tahu mana dapat link Game Joke, korang boleh visit Instagram kita orang, Facebook ataupun Twitter. Link ada dekat bio. Lepas main tu jangan lupa isi survey form. Selamat datang Hairi. Selamat datang Nurul Zack. Korang boleh share dekat korang punya media sosial ataupun boleh WhatsApp kawan-kawan korang untuk join kita punya quizzes sebab hadiah dia sangat lumayan. RM100 korang boleh guna untuk beli macam-macam. Nanti ujung bulan ni Shopee akan buat sale 88, korang boleh beli apa yang korang nak. Benda ni sama harga macam e-beli hari tu. So why not? Kita ada lagi 3 minit untuk nak terima penyertaan peserta quizzes dan lepas 3 minit ni kita orang dah tak akan terima dah, and agak rugilah untuk terlepas RM100 tu. Apa kata korang boleh share dekat grup-grup kelas ataupun grup-grup family korang ke untuk join kita masuk quizzes ni. Sementara menunggu, korang boleh juga share dekat comment section barang apa yang korang nak beli bila korang dah menang RM100 tu. Apa kata kita share sikit, jom kita share sikit. Hafni cakap dia nak beli makan. Hairi nak beli apa Hairi? Oh, ada lagi penyertaan baru. Selamat datang Sarah, Muhammad Pearl, Faris Alwi. Kita ada masa lagi 1 minit untuk nak tunggu penyertaan. Okey, nampaknya jam telah menunjukkan pukul 2.45 dan masa 10 minit kita dah tamat. Jadi semua orang dah bersedia ke? Kalau dah bersedia boleh bagi tahu dekat comment section tak yang dah bersedia betul-betul dah tak sabar dapat RM100. Okey. Kalau semua orang dah bersedia, kita dah boleh mula quizzes. Okey. Jadi, Medan Zura dah boleh start. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go guys. Okay korang, just for reminder, lepas korang dah habis jawab quizzes, korang jangan lupa screenshot korang punya summary untuk korang DM dekat Instagram Game Ink nanti sebagai bahan bukti penyertaan korang. Just for reminder kepada sesiapa yang dah nak habis soalan, jangan lupa screenshot summary korang. Oh, nampaknya ramai yang menyertai dan sangat laju juga korang jawab rupanya. Okay, kita sedang tunggu lagi 7 orang untuk nak siapkan quizzes ni. Lepas tu kita boleh tengok siapa pemenangnya. Dan sementara tu, untuk siapa yang dah siap, korang boleh visit kita orang punya Instagram @gaming21 dan visit link dekat bio kita orang and visit game joke dan cubalah game-game kita orang. Seronok, serius tak cakap. Serius tak tipu. Sekarang kita sedang tunggu lagi 5 orang untuk nak selengkapkan diorang punya quizzes dan buat masa sekarang tempat pertama Aini, Hehe dan kita dengan Harry. Mana yang tak siap lagi tu, korang boleh cuba balik, freshkan balik memori korang and try jawab and mungkin korang boleh menang RM100. Siapa dekat sini yang dah siap jawab quizzes? Sementara kita nak tunggu lagi 3 orang untuk nak siapkan. Apa kata siapa yang dah siap tu, korang boleh cakap, saya dah siap dekat comment section. Kalau nak seronok sikit, korang tambah emoji senyum. Ataupun emoji okay. Soalan daripada Syabil dekat YouTube, sangat sedih dengar kalau kalah kena screenshot juga ke? Tak berarti kalah lagi, kita tak tahu lagi siapa menang. Tapi kalau nak tengok dalam leaderboard, Syabil tak ada. Tapi screenshot je Syabil. Mana tahu kalau nak cakap Aini tak reply DM ke, kita akan turun ke bawah sampai nama Syabil. Okay, sementara tu saya nak, sementara menanti lagi saya nak tanya jugalah. Dekat sini siapa yang dah main game-game dekat Game Joke? Boleh bagi tahu tak game apa yang korang dah main? Nampaknya ramai dah main game Insanitize dengan Lucid Dream. Korang tak nak try main game lain juga ke? Macam Shapes Lane ke, Castle, game-game yang seronok juga, tapi Insanitize macam horror. Yang game-game lain tu genre lain. Korang boleh cuba genre lain. Contoh kalau korang nak belajar tentang sejarah Melayu, korang boleh buka game Legenda. Untuk Nur Rozak, Wajdi dengan Syahim korang boleh siapkan cepat-cepat sebab Pak Zee rasa dah ramai yang nak tahu. Nak dapat tahu lah siapa pemenangnya. Okay, time's up. Dan saya rasa lagi 3 orang tu maybe lost connection kot. Jadi, oh, Wajdi. Kalau boleh end game ni. Maaf kita orang terpaksa remove sebab diorang dah mungkin lost connection. Okey, jadi lepas dah semua orang dah join, nampaknya kita dah tahu siapa pemenangnya. Pemenangnya ialah Aini Hihi dekat sini. Boleh tak Aini Hihi bagi komen sikit like ya saya ke dekat comment section. Okey. Apa-apa pun tahniah diucapkan kepada pemenang. Pemenang untuk quizzes ni boleh DM GameInc21 dan DM screenshot summary anda sekali dalam masa 24 jam untuk tuntut RM100 anda. Kegagalan untuk menghubungi kami dalam masa tersebut akan menyebabkan anda kehilangan hadiah anda lah. Maka dengan itu, berakhirlah sesi Industry Talk ini dan berakhirlah juga event GameInc21. Saya mewakilkan GameInc21 ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada semua yang menyokong GameInc21 dari mula. Jangan lupa juga untuk test game-game kami di Game Jo dan jangan lupa bagi survey. Jumpa lagi di event GameInc yang akan datang iaitu GameInc22. Okey, terima kasih semua. Bye-bye.